I'm going to read you a list of 10 numbers and 10 words. I want you to remember the number and the word that goes with it. Number 2 is light. Number 5 is student. Number 10 is face. Number 4 is watch. Number 7 is floor. Number 6 is color. Number 9 is road. I hope they're not all beginning to drift away. Number 1 is orange. Number 8 is table. Number 3 is glass. I want you to pick up your pens to answer some questions, and don't write yet, because the first question that I want you to answer is, what is the number between 1 and 10 that you think I might have left out during that list? And then I want you to write down the number 5 and the word that went next to it. Number 1 and the word that went next to it. Number 9 and the word. Number 2 and the word. Number 10 and the word. Number 4 and the word. Number 7 and the word. Number 3 and the word. Number 6 and the word. And finally, number 8 and the word. Now, check your answers. Don't worry if you didn't do too well on that test. Most people, in fact, score only between about nothing and 4. By the end of the program, I hope to have given you a system which will enable you to get a perfect score on fairly simple tests such as that. But next I want to do another brief test, and this is to see how your memory works during a period of learning. And I'm going to read a list of words, and I want you to try to remember them in order. It's going to be a long list. You won't be able to remember all of them, so simply try to remember as many of them as you possibly can. Don't write down. Just use your head. Room, the, thought, of, and, work, there, the, best, Muhammad Ali, of, well, method, this, and, fur, does, of, and, trap, the, even, face. Now I imagine that the words that you have remembered from that list are probably the following. You'll have remembered more from the beginning, a little bit more from the words at the end. There'll have been a big uncomfortable sag in the middle, and you'll have remembered those words that were repeated. The, and, of. you will also tend to have remember the one word or phrase which was outstanding. What was it? Right, Muhammad Ali. Now what this little graph shows is that our memory and our understanding really don't work in exactly the same way. You probably understood all of the words, but certainly didn't remember them all. Now what we have to do is to make sure that when we want to learn, when we want to study, to read any technical papers or whatever, that the memory and the understanding are working in best harmony. And in order to do this, you have to break your study period down into smaller sections. Imagine this as a 2-hour period. You would break it down into 4 half-hour periods with a little break in between. These periods give us a much greater recall during the learning period. Memory and recall and understanding are in perfect harmony, and they also give us a break, which means that in each little period we're going to be more relaxed, more comfortable, so that as the learning period progresses, our recall is maintained exceptionally highly. This then is recall during a learning period. What happens after the learning period? This is a graph of representations of people saying how they felt that their own memories worked after the learning period. Some people feel that it goes straight in one ear, right out the other, in other words, that they forget almost immediately. Others feel that they have variations, slopes going down, and others that they maintain for a little while and then more gradually slope off. Fortunately, none of these are correct. What actually happens is that at the point that we stop learning, our recall begins to rise. So if we had a half-an-hour learning period, within about 5 minutes, our recall would rise. This is because our mind is integrating all the information we've taken in, putting it together, so that after that 5 minutes, when it's totally organized, our recall is the highest. It's only after this that it begins to drop. And the drop is unfortunately a fairly major one. We lose 80% of the information within 1 day of our learning. How do we prevent this really dramatic decline? Now, fortunately, the graph shows us how. If at this high point you review for a few minutes what you studied in the half-hour period, the decline is halted, and your recall remains high for at least a day. If after 24 hours you review again for only a couple of minutes, the recall will last up to a week. And if again you review after a week, it will last for a month. And after a month review, it will tend to go on for almost ever. Now, what do I mean by review? What I mean is that we take a blank piece of paper, jot down everything you can possibly remember from the learning period, and then compare it with either your original notes or the notes that you made on subsequent reviews. Now you take the notes, compare and contrast, fill in whatever needs to be filled in, correct your errors, and keep that set of notes which is best for your continuing review. After a few of these reviews, you will find that in fact your memory is long-term memory. It will be the same kind as you have for remembering your own name, your own address. So fortunately, the more information you have up here, the more you can grab and link in to new information. The more you know, the more you are able to know. Now, how does this affect us as we grow older? We start off as a bundle of open-ended opportunities. As a young child, our ability continues to improve. Through teenagehood, we get better and better. Between the ages of 18 and 25, we reach the peak. From that point on, society tells us that it's unfortunately all downhill. As a matter of fact, some of us at this time proudly proclaim that our memories are getting worse. We can't remember dates, names, faces, that we're just not as sharp as we used to be. Society also at this time prepares us, as we approach 60 and 65, to retire. It's assumed that we can no longer really function mentally well. Now this graph shows us our mental abilities as we grow and then grow older. It shows that everything declines: memory, verbal ability, mathematical ability. Fortunately, it's not an accurate graph. We can, in fact, reverse the processes by reviewing, by constantly exercising our minds, by being creative. We can once again reach that peak. And at any stage in our life, we can pull the whole thing up and continue to improve for as long as we live.